Good day everyone, I'm Vin Robinson and this is C2C News. Today's top stories. The power players who will shape Manitoba's policies as key ministers. Manitoba's PCs. Recent advertisements. A tasteless campaign issue. A bus shelter is not a home. Where's the leadership in Manitoba and Winnipeg?
Manitoba's political landscape is rapidly transforming as Premier-designate Wab Kinew takes the reins of leadership. In this pivotal moment, the spotlight shines on the trio of members of the Legislative Assembly, individuals poised to join his inner circle. Their appointments promise to shape the province's future and set the stage for the next 4 years in the administration. As Kinew assembles his cabinet, he will focus on selecting key individuals to fill pivotal positions. Within his inner circle, 3 names we suspect will form the main core of the administration. These figures are not only destined to make their mark in the cabinet, but also hold the potential to redefine the province's political landscape. It would be nothing short of shocking if any of these 3 were to be left out of the cabinet or placed in anything but high-profile positions. Robert Loisel, MLA for St. Boniface. With a background in education, Loisel is a Francophone Métis born and raised in North St. Boniface and is more than prepared to take on a prominent cabinet role. His experience as a teacher underscores his potential as a Minister of Education. Furthermore, Loisel's communication skills perfectly position him for the minister responsible for municipal relations role, considering the abundance of educators elected. His inclusion in the cabinet is almost a certainty, considering he defeated the leader of the Liberal Party, Dougal Dumont. Uzoma Asegwara, MLA for Union Station. Asegwara's extensive background in the healthcare industry makes her a compelling candidate for a significant cabinet portfolio. Having previously served as a healthcare critic, Asegwara's knowledge of the healthcare system positions her as a natural choice for the pivotal role of Minister of Health. Her collegiate history as a university basketball player might also open doors to the position of Minister of Sports, although the former is arguably more fitting for her. It would be nothing short of astonishing if Asegwara were not entrusted with a major cabinet role, given her potential to drive transformative change in the province's healthcare system. Nahani Fontaine, MLA for St. John's. Fontaine holds multiple degrees in various sectors. Her deep understanding of government affairs and one of the most prominent faces in the party make her a candidate for a high-profile cabinet position. With her credentials, she could excel as the Speaker of the Legislature, Leader of the House, or Minister for Crown Relations, each requiring astute and diligent leadership. The prospect of Fontaine not securing a top-tier cabinet role would be surprising, given her proven capabilities and potential to bring fresh perspective to crucial government functions. The critical position of Justice Minister will likely go to someone with a strong legal background, given the nature of legal matters. Additionally, the Indigenous Relations portfolio, traditionally retained by the Premier, may see new leadership with the emergence of highly elected, qualified Indigenous MLAs. The key administrative positions will be Mark Rosner, previously Chief of Staff in the NDP Leader's Office and Deputy Campaign Manager in the recent campaign, who is now the Chief of Staff in the Premier's Office. Emily Coots, who served as Director of Communications and Political Director in the NDP Caucus Office during the recent campaign, becomes the Principal Secretary in the Premier's Office. Rebecca Whitcomb, known for her role as Communications Officer and Director of Communications in the NDP Caucus Office during the campaign, takes on the position of Deputy Chief of Staff in the Premier's Office. Mark Rosner and Brian Topp will co-chair the transition process, with Topp's extensive experience as the campaign director for Manitoba NDP in 2023 and his previous roles with Alberta Premier Rachel Notley and Saskatchewan Premier Roy Romanow. As the cabinet positions are filled, Manitobans will look to their new leaders to guide them through this transition in the next 4 years. The promise of a more united Manitoba under Premier-designate Wab Kinew's leadership is one that many are hopeful will become a reality.
Welcome back. This is your help tip of the day. Cortisol. It's the #1 stress killer. Basically, you don't want your levels to be too high or too low. You just want them to be at an equilibrium. Essentially, you want to take those pocket breaks during the day. Me time. You don't want to work through the workday and not get a little bit of a break. You got those 10, 15s, 12 noon, 2:15s, all the way throughout the day. So make sure to utilize them. Step out, smell the fresh air, walk around, get back to the desk, or whatever your pocket break may be. This is your Frit Tip of the day. We'll be right back.
The battleground is characterized by heated debates, differing ideologies, and the occasional controversial political advertisement. Recently, the Manitoba Progressive Conservatives sparked outrage with their advertisements highlighting their decision not to allocate government funds to search landfills for the bodies of missing Indigenous women. This approach to a sensitive issue has been met with widespread criticism, as many argue that this is not just a matter of budgeting, but a question of ethics, empathy, and human rights. The ad, emblazoned with the slogan, "Stand firm against the unsafe $184 million land dig," has left many questioning the motives behind turning a serious and tragic matter into a political campaign issue. While budget constraints can be a legitimate concern for any government, the decision to feature it prominently in a political campaign is seen by many as deeply insensitive. This issue is not just about fiscal responsibility, but the relationship between the Indigenous communities and the Manitoba government. The handling of this situation underscores the already rocky relationship between the two parties. A lack of empathy. The PC's decision to use the issue of searching for missing Indigenous women's bodies as a campaign issue demonstrates a lack of empathy and understanding for the deep pain and suffering experienced by these communities. It sends a message that their concerns are being trivialized for political gain. Human rights concerns. Searching for the remains of missing Indigenous women is not just a matter of finances, but a human rights issue. These women and their families deserve justice and closure. By framing it as a budgetary problem, the government neglects its responsibility to address this pressing matter. Trust erosion. Indigenous communities have long struggled with issues of trust and communication with government authorities. This advertisement further erodes trust by making it seem like the government is more concerned with its financial bottom line than the well-being of Indigenous people. Polarizing politics. Using such a sensitive issue as a campaign tool further polarizes the political landscape. It pits one group against another and hinders the prospects for constructive dialogue and collaboration between the government and Indigenous communities. The Manitoba PCs, highlighting their reluctance to allocate funds for searching landfills for the bodies of missing Indigenous women, have struck a nerve with many. Using this issue as a campaign tool only exacerbates the strained relationship between the Indigenous communities and the Manitoba government. Political leaders must approach such sensitive matters with the seriousness and respect they deserve, recognizing that these issues go beyond politics and budgets. They touch the lives and well-being of real people.
Welcome back from that commercial break. This is your traffic tip of the day. It's that time of year, roadways are slick. You want to have a little bit of a softer tire. It's all about the winter tire program. If you can't afford tires, make sure to reach out to Manitoba Public Insurance. They'll help you with that. You can have better traction, better ability to be able to stop your vehicle. It's all about being in control, so don't go too fast. Once again, those roads are very slick. This is your traffic tip of the day. And now your traffic report. Well, traffic going from north to south in Winnipeg is definitely going to slow down. With the Arlington Street Bridge, a historic landmark in Winnipeg, closing, now you're going to have to leave your home a little bit earlier. You're going to have to commute by either going down Salter or McPhillips. So make sure to prepare, give yourself that little bit of extra time during rush hour. That is your traffic bump of the day.
Shame on Manitoba and shame on the city of Winnipeg. Their abysmal response to the homelessness crisis is nothing short of disgraceful. The time for pointed criticism and unapologetic rebuke is now. They must do more, and it starts with cutting through the bureaucratic red tape that strangles the most vulnerable members of our society. The federal government too deserves its fair share of criticism. Their approach to the crisis has been anything but creative. It's high time they establish a new federal Ministry of Housing that bypasses the province for funding allocation and circumvents the city's ineffectual processes. There needs to be a radical change, even if it ruffles the feathers of numerous organizations claiming to help the homeless. Let's be blunt. Most of these organizations do little more than serve as conduits for funds, with only a fraction of the money they receive actually reaching the homeless. Many of them do stellar work, but it's time to do a full audit on how federal tax dollars are spent in the grand scheme of things. One glaring issue is the proliferation of well-intentioned programs and organizations drowning in red tape and administrative delays, causing funds allocated for the homeless to dwindle on wages and cumbersome grant application processes, leaving the intended beneficiaries to suffer needlessly. According to studies, the homeless population in Winnipeg ranges from 1,000 to 2,500 individuals, a manageable number given the resources poured into the city. The real question is, where is all this money going? The disappointment crushes when we drive past people sleeping in the cold, suffering as their makeshift shelters catch fire from makeshift heaters inside bus shelters, and the city's response? Shut off the heat, ignore the broken windows and doors, and perpetuate the cycle of despair. The homeless crisis in Winnipeg is, at its core, a crisis of compassion, or rather the lack thereof. The city has many vacant government buildings and empty hotel rooms, yet people on the streets are suffering and dying. The bus shelters where people are forced to seek refuge are often in deplorable conditions with broken windows and doors. The federal government should reallocate funding into housing to guarantee that every dollar is utilized for housing the homeless rather than accumulating in provincial and city bank accounts or financing endless studies and extravagant salaries. The failure of all three levels of government is nothing short of disgusting. Despite receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding, Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg have failed to address the homelessness crisis adequately. How can citizens in a nation as prosperous as Canada be left to sleep in bus shelters, enduring the harsh realities of winter without shelter? The current system is broken, and it's insufficient to throw money at the problem and hope it disappears. We need comprehensive and immediate action. Manitoba's provincial government also bears a significant portion of blame for this ongoing tragedy. While they receive substantial funding from the federal government to address homelessness, their actions speak louder than words. The money allocated to combat homelessness seems to disappear into a bureaucratic black hole with little visible result. The province has failed to show the creativity and resourcefulness necessary to tackle this crisis head-on. Instead of using the available resources, they seem content to shuffle paperwork and issue statements of empty promises. In this dire situation, it's not just about allocating more funds, it's about reallocating them effectively. The current system is a convoluted mess, with funds being dispersed to numerous organizations that are at best inefficient and at worst ineffective. These organizations often prioritize their sustainability over the well-being of the homeless, funneling money into administrative overhead and perpetuating the cycle of despair. The time for excuses and half measures is over. It's time to take drastic action. The federal government must step in and seize control of the situation. By bypassing the province and the city, they can ensure that funding goes directly into housing solutions, not bureaucrats' pockets or inefficient organizations' coffers. Non-profit organizations, instead of being the primary recipients of funding, should be relegated to a secondary role, serving as maintenance and support for government-run housing initiatives. This approach will ensure that every dollar is used efficiently and that the homeless receive the desperately needed assistance. Furthermore, it's disheartening to hear arguments about some homeless individuals not wanting shelter. With the right help and approach, almost everyone would choose a safe and warm home over the harsh streets any day. It's time for a fundamental shift in how we approach homelessness in Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg. No longer should citizens suffer needlessly, while funds meant to alleviate their plight are squandered on paperwork and administrative costs. The homelessness crisis is a stain on our society, a damning indictment of our collective failure to protect and care for our most vulnerable members. We must do more, and we must do better. Anything less is a betrayal of our shared humanity and a testament to our societal failure.
And welcome back. What a terrific season in the CFL. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers created a dynasty like we haven't seen before. It's terrific what they're able to do. They climbed all the way to the top of the Western Conference Finals only to take the championship of the helm once again. Only once again to leap to the finals in Hamilton to compete against a very, very tough team, the Montreal Alouettes. We tip our hat to the Montreal Alouettes as they have been in a drought for 16 years. True Winnipeggers know what that's like to feel. But on the rebound, we'll be back next year. November 11th, 2023 was an historic time. We did our Midwest Basketball Anovets tribute, and we were able to merge together with athletes from the US and Canada. This program keeps growing and getting larger and larger as we go on. We are starting to show the basketball etiquette that is required in order to have these juniors enter into a higher level of play. It's terrific. Why don't you watch some of this clip? We'll be right back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Vin Robinson here at Garden City Collegiate in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. We're here with an exciting game that's about to happen. I mean, as you can see behind me, we're here in Garden City and there's already basketball that's taking place here on the court. But the crescendo of the night is going to be the PBA Selects versus the Midwest All-Stars. Now, on this Anavet Tribute 9.0, there was a lot that took place. We had a practice. We brought in a bunch of players internationally into Winnipeg to compete. And we had a terrific scrimmage today with points that were so high, it blew my mind. Now we're here to compete for the game. It's going to be terrific, fabulous. Stick around, watch it, and follow us on coasttocoastsports.net for the game when it populates. We'll see you soon.
Hello everyone. Today we're here to watch some fantastic basketball from these great young athletes. We're here with the PBA Selects in the red jerseys. They'll be represented as the home team on the scoreboard. We've got the Midwest All-Stars represented as the blue team. They'll be the away team. PBA starts with the ball. And as always, we are presented by Coast to Coast Sports, here to showcase these talented young athletes.
Today we have an absolutely astounding guest here to talk to us about the Manitoba African Cup of Nations soccer tournament. His name is Gode from the Canadian Mennonite University. Now, when we call this a tournament, it's not really just a tournament, is it?
No, it's not.
Now, we talked earlier about the pandemic's effect on people in general, but the soccer community wasn't overly affected, I wouldn't think, was it?
No, it was not.
So tell me, what makes the Manitoba African Cup of Nations more than just a soccer tournament?
Once again, first of all, thank you for having me here. The Manitoba African Cup of Nations, it's more than just a tournament. It's about community. It's about creating a sense of belonging to the people. The Manitoba African Cup of Nations, we have been operating for the past 4 years. Despite of pandemics, we have seen a lot of growth that has happened. As for the past 2 years, we had, on 2020, we had 1,500 people that came out to our finals. And I'm sorry if any government officials are watching this. We broke some restriction, but this was for the betterment for our people. Pandemic really affected many of our people in the community. And this was the only thing that gave them a sense of belonging and sense of hope, where they can connect and socialize with other people. So, the Manitoba African Cup of Nations, it's more than a tournament. It's about unifying our black communities here in Manitoba and hopefully across Canada in coming years.
Now, we've talked a lot about, especially in recent years, sports becoming a business, and where money means more than whatever, the Jets are Winnipeg's team, or the Bombers are Winnipeg's team. We'll get more about the Bombers later.
Yes.
But where sports has become more of a business and not a community feel.
Mm-hmm.
But this type of tournament, or we'll just call it an event, because it goes beyond being a tournament.
Yes.
It's just it brings hope to everybody, because seems to me such a community based thing where, like you said, players belong, the fans belong. It's not a team that plays, it's a community.
Yes.
And wouldn't you agree that that's lost on sports, especially in North America for the most part?
Absolutely. Because where I come from, and in many parts, in other parts of the world, most people, we do understand that sport, it's more than just the team or the club that you support. It becomes your second family. And in North America, that's something that we have lost, in my opinion, again. Because sports, it's one thing that's supposed to unify us, as especially looking at what, the Canadian government were promoting. We say inclusion, diversity, and see on how we can all unify, as one big country. But you look at it, there's some limitation when we talk about sports and accessibility and affordability. When often we talk about inclusion, and some people may say, oh, because of particular race, religion, background, social status. But when you come to sports, there's one thing that brings us all together. It's that one language. It's one song we can understand, right? And that's what sports should be, a sense of where everybody can be included. It's not about business, it's about community.
And you could even argue that it's not even about winning.
Oh, yes.
It's great to win, but to be a part of the competition is great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, to touch on that is just, again, for our tournaments, people really have confused us, because when we initially started, they thought we're just going to give big cash prize as to an incentive to bring in people. And we said no. We are not giving a big cash prize because that takes away the sense of community, takes away the sense of the meaning of what sports should be all about. So in most of our competition, the cash price is less than even $500, right? And these are communities, these are people, thousands of people. But again, it's not about putting cash value to it. It's about actually community.
That's absolutely, I'm blown away by this. That this is happening right under our noses, and that mainstream media don't really even report on something like this. Yet this is basically, it's a fabric of, it's part of what the fabric of our society should be.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome back from that commercial break. This is our entertainment today. Black Film Space, Manitoba, amplifying Black voices and talent in Canadian industry.
The film industry in Manitoba has seen hundreds of big budget and made-for-TV movies being filmed in the province over the last decade. This has helped to put Winnipeg on the map as a destination for filmmakers and actors worldwide. However, despite the many successes that the industry has enjoyed, there has been a significant void for Black Canadians in terms of film creation, production, and casting. That's where Black Film Space Manitoba comes in. Black Film Space Manitoba is a collective of 5 Manitoban companies that have come together to create a space for Black Canadians in film. The organization is committed to promoting diversity, inclusion, and representation in the film industry and supporting the next generation of Black filmmakers and actors. Chris Sharp, one of the founding members of Black Film Space Manitoba, said Black Film Space Manitoba is a collective of some of the greatest and up-and-coming minds and talent in Canada who just happen to be right here in Manitoba doing amazing work. The organization is dedicated to providing a supportive and innovative environment where Black Canadians can hone their craft and develop their skills in the film industry. One of the organization's first featured projects in early production is Cool Sweepings, the first ever Black curling comedy feature film about Black Jamaicans starting a curling team. The film draws its inspiration from the box office smash Cool Runnings from 30 years ago about a Jamaican bobsledding team. Black Film Space Manitoba is raising funds for the feature through a crowdfunding campaign. Government funding for film in Canada at all 3 levels of government is a monumental task in itself. Despite the non-stop promotion of supposed funding, the process is complicated with criteria that are more exclusionary than inclusive and extensive waiting periods for disbursement. Funding is generally limited or seasonal. With the launch of Black Film Space Manitoba, the community is rallying together to ensure the success of the project. The significance and importance of having representation for the Black community in the film industry cannot be overstated. It is essential that the industry reflects the diversity of the Canadian population and that everyone has the opportunity to share their stories and experiences. Black Film Space Manitoba is doing its part to create a more inclusive and diverse film industry in Manitoba and to provide a platform for Black Canadians to showcase their talents and make their voices heard. Black Film Space Manitoba is committed to doing something lasting and will continue supporting Manitobans' talents while contributing to the economy. The organization is a beacon of hope for the Black community in Manitoba, paving the way for a more inclusive and diverse film industry in Canada. With the support of the community, Black Film Space Manitoba is poised to make a significant impact on the film industry and provide opportunities for Black Canadians to succeed and thrive.
And just a little bit more to do in our city. Are you out and about looking to spice up your life? Check out CPR, Caribbean Party Restaurant and Lounge. Get that jerk chicken, some of that ackee saltfish, all of that great thing that you need in order to make you feel solid and good in the morning. If you like spice, you want to spice up your life, check out CPR. World news. We leave you today with peace between Israelis and Palestinians is now within reach, and not a moment too soon. I'm Vin Robinson signing off. Good night. C2C News, Manitoba's people of color, local news, weather, sports, civic coverage, and breaking reports. Coming this fall, C2C SN will cover local news, weather, forecasts, traffic updates, health reports, notice of events, and items of interest in the community from the BIPOC perspective.